Welcome back to the Second Summit presented by IAMEI and Accenture. We now have our final session on modifying landscape of working space. I would like to introduce you to the session moderator, Mr. Amit Lal, Head of Workspace Solutions at Sodexo, followed by our panelists, Mr. Prashant Parashar, Chief Human Resources Officer, Clevertap, and Mr. Amit Ramani, Founder and CEO, Office Space Solutions. A very warm welcome to you all. Over to you, Mr. Lal.
Thank you, Jivisha. So, good evening to everybody. And my name is Amit Lal. I'm from Sodexo. I think the introduction was already done. So, the topic today we are talking about is modifying landscape of the working spaces. Now, this is a very pertinent topic at this point, and especially in a event on digital transformation, because technology has always been the key enabler ever since the lockdown has started, or ever since the pandemic has hit. So had technology not been there, the world would have come to a standstill. So we really see this as a very pertinent topic, and as companies prepare to go back to work, it's really interesting to see what insights from this event and from the participants and speakers you can take back to really apply on the ground to make your back to work strategies work. And this is not specific to people within the real estate functions, because it's a cross-functional effort that organizations are driving. So it's really interesting how HR, finance, IT, procurement, and every other function, including businesses, play a role in making it happen. Now, what's really coming out of this experience, which started as the largest work from home experiment globally, is that the new normal is going to be highly distributed. It's going to be a hybrid workplace environment. You may call it a meshed workplace environment. So give it the word you like to, but it's a mix of typologies of spaces, including your own home, right? And your own company's office, plus a couple of other typologies of spaces. Now, I was really excited when I was approached for this session to moderate when I saw the panel. So we have Amit Ramani, he's the CEO of a co-working company called Office, and we have a CHRO, Mr. Prashant. And myself, I'm a workplace consultant and technologist. So I think that's where we make it a comprehensive or full picture in terms of a narrative when we plan for this session. So the approach that we decided to take was to give you a perspective within the key dimensions of what a back to work strategy or defining the new avatar of the workplace would really require. First is and foremost is definitely people. People more than ever before are at the center, are at the center of attention and the consideration. So that is the first pillar. The second is the space and services. So in terms of what kind of typologies will come in, what kind of services, not just from a real estate standpoint, but from an HR standpoint, finance standpoint, really need to be provided to them, to services to make the work happen and collaboration happen. And finally, the key topic that relates to the seminar is the technology, so the technology perspective. So with that, I would request Prashant ji to come in and give us perspective on the people side, and followed by Amit, who can also talk about it. So Prashant ji, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Amit. Thanks, Amit Lal, because we have two Amits, so we have to always use the surname, which is not the norm these days. The current pandemic, we have all seen and realized that we are treading in an absolutely uncharted territory. None of us have been in a position to forecast what will happen 3 months down the line. Barely in the month of around February, many organizations were thinking to get people back to work, and they had to change their plans, seeing the second wave, especially in which Bombay saw that early, and then it spread to rest of the country. So, the first and foremost that is there is anything that we do, whether getting people back to work or in the remote working, concern for people is the first and foremost. Ensuring health and safety has been the top priority for every organization, whether it is the manufacturing side, the services side, across the length and breadth of industry. And hence the policies and practices, have evolved over last 1 year, keeping health and safety of employees as a core factor. Earlier, it was very common to start the meeting with how are we doing on this project? How are we doing on these deliverables? Now every conversation starts with how are you doing? Everyone at home is safe. Even the text messages start with that. So the workplace as we were used to before the pandemic hit us, we may not see again. For the last 1 year, we have seen how workplace has evolved from, initially working from the office, moved to working from home, to working from anywhere, to remote working. We have seen people moving out of their base location, going to their parents' place, or taking up, a staycation in exotic places. The concept of remote and hybrid workplace would in that sense continue to be the norm for at least the next couple of years till we see the full normal, or we find a cure, or a large population of the world gets vaccinated. Because one of the things that this pandemic has taught us is no one is safe until anyone is unsafe in any part of the world. Yeah. So instead of people being brought to work, which was the norm post the Industrial Revolution, now the work is being brought to people, and this would continue for at least the foreseeable future. That's what I would like to share to start off with.
Amit, over to you. Your thoughts on the people side of the story.
Thanks, Amit, and thanks IMA for inviting me to this panel discussion. So I think that's kind of Prashant mentioned clearly. I think the forefront today, people have become the forefront of everything, right? I think clearly it used to be that we would create workplaces, but workplaces were primarily created at a centralized location to maximize the reduced efficiency of the infrastructure, right? Today, I think one of the key changes that's happened is that it's become employee-centric, right? Which is a big change from workplace-centric, where workplaces were created and employees were asked to congregate, where now the employee is at the center of it. I think a lot of this change is evolving. I think the end outcome is still to be predicted how it all ends up, but I think the choice, which has become central to the employee's decision making, I think is here to stay. So clearly, as we speak about what each of the organizations will do, each of the organizations will adapt to what works for them, because I don't think there is a one size fits all, right? An organization that is primarily sales centric, or an organization that's research centric, or an organization that is manufacturing oriented, they will all behave differently and will have to adopt models. But I think one thing is clear, that the employee health, safety, well-being is going to be at the center of everything that we will do. Clearly, there is an element of the people side, which obviously the offices were curated primarily because a lot of the functions that we all do end up doing remotely right now were not as effective, right? For example, if I have to brainstorm and come up with a new product, I think it's fairly hard, and all of us have experienced this for the last 1 year. It's very hard to do it over Zoom or WebEx or these platforms, which obviously moves much faster if you are in a centralized congregation. So my sense is, yes, the employee well-being, etc., will be at the center of it, but the organization firstly will all look at it differently. Second, I think the employee resiliency is something which is quite amazing to see in the last 1 year, which I think all of us had never experienced this. But today we know that with the last 1 year's experience, that organizations that are fairly work centric, right, which are output centric, which can be done remotely, are all able to do fairly well. I think productivity of most ITS companies in India is the testament to that. And I think most of those companies have in fact grown. Some of the larger ITS companies in India have grown by almost 20-25% in the pandemic. So clearly shows the resiliency of the employee and the organization to adapt. I think the final point being that clearly, I think the design of the workplace will take an evolution to fit the employee in and their requirements. So the work style of the employee is going to be adapted by the workplace to incorporate all these changes. So I think those are some of the points that I would like to highlight.
Thanks, Amit. I think this is really key that health and well-being is taking precedence. Human-centric design and human-centric everything human-centric is really becoming taking the forefront. And I think one of the learnings or one of the findings of a study that we did much before the pandemic hit, a global study with one of our partner firms in France, was to find the reason what makes people come to office. And social interaction was apparently the biggest reason why what people quoted that they go to the office for. So it means whether the social interaction is to do with the work and when you're collaborating in a meeting, brainstorming, doing a product design. I think we are human beings and we do want to go back to work. But one thing is for sure, this since this distributed environment is here to stay now, how companies devise their policies to get people back in what proportion and in what models, that's very important. And that will really mean that there are two things probably as per me as I see when I speak to my clients and I see this whole situation is that trust is something which is paramount to be won or be built and strengthened and sustained by organization within their employees, because people are, of course, with the way the second wave has hit India, fortunately, it's not the situation in the rest of the world, but we never know. So I think the organizations need to really prepare over the long term to win that trust and sustain it. And I think what will really play a key role is, like I say, a cross-functional collaboration, which is already on, but in a more strengthened and sustained manner, where the leadership is communicating all the more effectively with and regularly with the employees, and the change is managed. And that's what really give them that comfort level, of course, with all the paraphernalia of other things that we are talking about in this discussion. So this paradigm shift is definitely that the organizations need to go through in terms of the way they manage communication, cross-functional collaboration, and change. So that's my perspective, and this will all lead to a major shift in the cultural, the cultural fabric of each organization, because each organization has its own unique cultural fabric, and that really needs to, that's already undergoing a change. So, and I think it needs to be fluid still for some good amount of time to come to take the final shape. So Amit, with that, we move to the space and services perspective, and we start with you to hear your views on the real estate side of it, the FM and employee services side of it, and how the other aspects of services will play a role in making the workplace happen of the future.
Sure. So, Amit, as employees, as we mentioned, are going to be central to the whole solution set. I think their involvement in any decision making that happens to the end outcome for the workplace, I think, will be paramount. It's clear that today the real estate portfolios and the real estate portfolio managers and the heads that are driving those portfolios is in a massive shift as we speak. We used to all look at, from a decentralized location. Most companies between the early 2000 to, I would say, probably till about a year ago, were in a consolidation mode because of the efficiency factor, right? They all wanted to make sure that if you were in Delhi NCR, you took all your eggs and put them in one basket. And we helped many companies do that in the past 15, 20 years in India. Now, today, I think clearly those portfolios are in a massive shift, and they're shifting to the level where the solution that will come out will end up being as to how and what the company does. The organizational outcome of the real estate portfolio will end up being, how they adapt to this new change. One thing is certain, that centralized model where one HO or a campus of 2,000 people is the answer, I think is a thing of the past. Clearly, what we are looking at least we are looking at many of the clients that we are working with, is that they are coming back with a model where there are certain functions which will have to be centralized. So, which basically means that workplaces that are more purpose built, which serve as a mentor space, onboarding, co-creation, brainstorming, engagement, acting as a tool to attract and retain, fuel productivity. Those are all the elements that will be at a location which will be much smaller than that original location that one had planned. Second, because of business continuity planning, most companies have understood that clearly you can't put all your eggs in one basket. So now the distributed model not only includes the satellite location within a city, but also spreading it across cities. right? Clearly, you never know where the next containment zone is going to come in. So that's the second piece which is happening. Third, which is work from home, and purely from an organizational standpoint, it translates into savings, right? Because if I don't have to pay for a seat, or if I don't have to provide for a certain infra, then I'm going to save money. So those are the organizational driven solution sets. If we were to put ourselves in the employee bucket, there's clearly a move away from spending time to travel. All of us were used to traveling 1, 2, 3 hours every day to get to that central office. For the employee, the day started when I left my home and entered back. But for the employer, it started when I entered the office. So there was a disconnect of 2, 3 hours, and nobody gained in that, right? So clearly, that work near home is going to be a mandate where employees are clearly asking, can I work 2, 3 days, even when the things become normal, at the location of my choice? If I have to co-create something or brainstorm, I'll go to the office. Otherwise, I can, if I need to do heads down work, I can do it from near home. I think work from home in the long term, in my humble opinion, is going to be a smaller percentage than all we had predicted, because all of us have realized that we are all social, we're very socially active, right? And clearly face to face is something, that becomes, extremely important. We also feel that, as flexibility, agility, and adaptability becomes the norm, companies will look at flex workspaces as an option. So as part of their central location or their satellite location, they will certainly look for such players to, help adapt to that. Then a couple of smaller points, I think, which one is around HR policies. HR policies, and Prashant is an expert, I'm not an expert, but HR policies will have to adapt to this new work style or new way of working as people distribute themselves on certain days at a location, and then maybe work from home for a couple of days, etc. I think finally, there are 6 pillars that we firmly believe will create to sustainable adoption of any model that one adopts, which is around workforce, it's around management, it's around culture, it's around workplace itself, it's around infrastructure, and it's around compliance. So those are the elements that I believe will play a role in the workplace as it evolves.
No, I think by far the most comprehensive definition of distributed workplace that I've heard, and very nicely articulated, and the pillars, 6 pillars that you have just called out. And I think that's where, Prashant, it is really important to hear from you, what's the imperative in it for HR? How do you as a practitioner see the policies evolving? What are some of the key policies that really will come up as part of this whole new reorchestration of the space and services side of the workplace from a HR standpoint?
So, taking off from what Amit talked about, while remote working and work from home is likely to be a larger norm or a larger percentage of norm in the foreseeable future, whenever things start opening up, I think, given what we have undergone in the last 1 year and what we are going through, there will be a larger preference for smaller offices rather than big offices. Why? Because it is easy to coordinate and control, like a micro containment zone, or to trace, or who all gets impacted. It's relatively easy rather than managing a workplace of 2,000 people or 200 people. It is better to do it for 20 people. So there could be a possibility of an organization having multiple offices in the same city in practically every part of suburb in large cities. That could be a possibility. No second thought on that. And time will tell us how the preferences evolve, and in that case, multi-center collaboration, connectivity, how that works out, it needs to be seen. Having said that, processes are getting redesigned so far. Right from hiring to training to onboarding to every major people process, that is getting delivered and transacted online or using technology. So the adoption of technology has been extremely high in the last 1 year, and primarily fueled by the requirements of remote working, hybrid working. Any processes that we do, the companies will need to be very clear about the principle. So either I use the trust and empowerment, which many organizations are using. We have also defined within CleverTap our working during COVID times. It starts with trust and empowerment. Or the other end is that companies will have to spend huge amount of investments in either a surveillance or, and this is apart from the security. So trust and empowerment, I personally believe, uh, will be the bedrock for any process or policy that is being that is adopted. We already see that the communication, whether it is one-to-one or with a group, starts with a personal note and empathetic tone rather than straight coming to work or straight coming to business. Care for colleagues has become the starting point for any change management that we do. Tools and equipments for remote working will become the new set of perks. So we have seen many organizations have in the last 1 year shipped, office furniture, headphones, and a lot of other things to people to set up their home offices, and it's becoming a perk at many places. The other services, which is the psychological and mental well-being, has become extremely important, with people going through so much of difficulty, trauma, illness around us. Even while working here from home, you hear the ambulance siren 5 times a day, and that's an understatement for someone who is living in Delhi, for example. Yeah. So, and it takes its own toll on people, and psychological well-being, mental well-being, and services related to that, whether it is availability of a counselor on chat, on demand through a smartphone app, or booking a session with the counselor, or proactive sessions, that is becoming one of the essential parts of survival kit, if I may say that.
Thanks, Prashant. I think this is quite a relevant view of what the need of the hour is for the HR to drive at the workplace. And in one of the industry bodies which I represent, we look at workplace strategy as a joint effort between the corporate real estate executives, the IT, and the HR, which are the core of the whole workplace strategy of an organization when it comes to driving it. And the elements that you are bringing in now, they may have existed in the past, but I think this really needs to be operationalized at a much larger war footing by the organizations. And so thanks for the views, Amit, from a real estate standpoint, the whole distributed workplace standpoint, and Prashantji from a HR perspective. A couple of points I would like to highlight here is that, when it comes to spaces and services, these are going to be on-demand amenities now. So if we can call it like a WAAA model of workplace as an amenity model, right? That's quite likely to become the new normal, as the existing built environments of organization will largely be used, like Amit also highlighted, to connect and socialize and and collaborate more productively, right? And in a more enjoyable way. So that we as a social animal, we also take some good memories of our collaboration with our colleagues, solving problems, when we work to collaborate together on work, and feel more productive. And for focus, of course, we have our places. So this really needs to make the workplace more and more autonomous for an employee, so that he can actually very intuitively create their own experience. So all that maybe Prashant and Amit have spoken really needs to be integrated in a single framework by organization as part of their workplace strategy initiatives for the new avatar of the workplace, and tested, because you have multiple space typologies. So like it's really being called out that there'll be no more single central office for 2,000 people, everybody sitting at the single place. There could be a hub and spoke model. There could be a central office with many other smaller co-working spaces across cities or within the same city. So it's going to be distributed, and that really calls out to uh, make it more and more autonomous for the employee to choose where he wants to work from and what services should be made available to him at that particular type of office or workspace, right? what really that translates into from a service provider standpoint or a workplace consultant standpoint is, how do I harmonize those standards, protocols, and policies in a playbook format for the organization? And within an organization also, that flexibility is needed, because there are multiple different types of offices that people are accessing, which have a different profile, different ways they are supposed to be used, and the kind of different levels of services that we can offer. So to bring in certain level of standardization across and have the flexibility for each typology is what really needs organizations need to work upon when they are configuring the solutions from a space and services standpoint for the new normal. So within Sodexo, we are already working with some clients in the APAC region in India, and this is where I'm coming from in terms of how they are looking at reorchestrating themselves and regearing themselves for the new situation. So coming to technology, I think maybe I can take a lead there to start with. Technology has been a key enabler to make the workplace happen from every perspective, whether it was to make the work happen itself, to run the spaces, to ensure hygiene, safety, social distancing, etc. So the use cases are very wide. There's a huge laundry list of use cases across multiple categories. And I think we need to give it a perspective. How I see this is from a 3E model of technology at the workplace. So the first one is the employee well-being and experience. The second one is efficiency of operations, and third is the effectiveness of the workplace. So when we talk about employee well-being and experience, a lot has been spoken about by Prashant and Amit already, and we have covered. But how all of those really go into some sort of a single, technology easily accessible by the employees, wherein they can actually, with convenience and ease, use the workplace as and when they want it to. This needs to have all the cross-functional use cases built in as well. So it's not to say that I should be only able to book a space meeting or a coffee or buy my food, but also how can I reimburse my expenses from the same platform? How can I book a cab from the same platform? Maybe for certain advanced workplace environments, how can I actually configure temperature for my space? And things like that. So the point is that it needs to be very, very cross-functional from a use case standpoint also. The list, like I said, can be very, very long. Today, what I am looking at in some of the projects I'm working is that there are at least 40, 45 use cases within the employee well-being and experience domain only, and these are small and big both, So I think organizations really need to define the employee journeys within their built environments. Now in the hybrid space, of course, multiple built environments, and for each craft that digital journey to enable your employees are able to access those services and amenities. Second is efficiency of operations. So from our perspective at Sodexo, we are looking at robotic cleaning already. We have IoT-based cleaning operations and solutions. We have applications which are based on AI and IoT to manage the energy and transport operations. So broadly, these are a lot of sensor-based applications to manage the space. Space is the key asset now. Real estate is the second largest, typically, the cost for an organization after people. So managing that in this environment, in conjunction, let's say, with energy also, is going to be a key win strategy. So leveraging the emerging technologies on that front, AI-based solutions to really do space analytics can take us a long way in making organizations more efficient in terms of their operations. Social distancing, I think it's widely spoken. We have all these smart cameras, thermal sensors, and whatnot. So all of those are finding space. Yes, we are still sailing through because a lot of these are capex oriented. So likewise, when you start plotting your transformation map over the next 3 years as an organization for technology, you would realize what your priorities are and where do you need to really invest. Third is the effectiveness of the workplace itself. So that's more of the IT side of it, that how they enable all the set of tools that are required for employees to perform the work. So all sorts sets of softwares, emails, your collaboration tools, your meeting tools, etc. So I think broadly these three, the employee well-being and experience, efficiency of operations, and effectiveness of the workplace, the 3E model is what is constituted of. Finally, technology creates data. And it's a wide sea of technologies that we've already spoken. So we need to see how well this big data of your organization can be leveraged to build better insights to drive better decision making. So I call it the run to transform and transform to run cycle. So run is your operations, you use technology, create data, feed into your transformation engine, where you analyze that in your analytics portals or whatever dashboards, come up with insights, and then plow it back to your run cycle again. So that you improve your operations, you better the experience, well-being of employees, the productivity, the efficiency of operations. So I think that's how the focus on analytics really needs to be there, and more blended KPIs need to be looked upon by the organization, and not just the building data in silo. So that's my perspective on technology. Amit, over to you on technology.
Sure, thanks, Amit. So, Amit, I think at least fundamentally what we believe is that technology will be used, and again, I don't know how complex technologies will evolve or not evolve, because I think adoption of technology, the simpler it is, the better it is. So I think one of the things which clearly we believe technology will play a role in is to build confidence back, to bring employees back to work. Right. So during the pandemic, obviously, we all talk about social distancing, hygiene, protocols by company, which is great. And I truly believe that those things will become the norm. They are not going to go away by any means. But I think technology will have to build that confidence. So today, if there was a technology which told me that if I walked into a room, there is a guarantee that I will not get infected, I think that is the biggest technology that could have a completely different dimension, right? Versus saying that I have to, I have six different things that happen through an app. I'm not sure how many of those people will use, because all of us are used to, booking a cab through a different platform, ordering food through a different platform. So I'm not sure if that level of technology would work, but technology that's hidden behind and will keep me safe, I think will be a winner in the long run. So I think that's clearly something that we strongly believe in. Second, I think the workplace consciousness. We were never conscious of the employee or their safety, right? It was all about, how cool it looks. Yes, I have a few technology elements, which was all around, how cool of a, VC equipment I had, or audio visual equipment I had. But I think that consciousness will need to come back, which will propel the workplace and design and the technology to work together seamlessly. So I think that's the second piece that I think will have a huge impact. All organizations are massively invested in technology. We work with a lot of landlords, and today the key differentiator between grade A and B landlords is going to be the technology that's deployed in their buildings that makes sure that the occupants of those buildings are kept safe. At the second level, obviously, organizations are working to develop technology that helps keep their employees from the point they leave their house, right, to the point that they arrive back at their house, which could be technology-driven solutions in terms of transportation, in terms of how they enter the building, who is allowed to enter the building, and how safe are those people who are entering the building, to the workplace itself, with the most organizations control, including ourselves, and how we can keep those occupants as safe as possible. So I think safety has become as the core of all of it. And then I think clearly there is a mobility aspect, which will have to be deployed when we talk about distributed work. It is important that, for example, a technology which we have deployed, which is called a rostering technology, which basically ensures that the day Prashant and Amit are supposed to come to the central location, we both can plan and sit together close by. Right? Because that 1 or 2 days that I am going to travel and spend that 2 hours on the road, I better make it productive, because if Prashant is on my team, then I want to make sure that I am there when he is there. So the rostering technology, hot desking, hoteling concepts, these are some of the things that will become employee mobility solutions, and I think are already adapted and are getting incorporated, right? Second are productivity tools. Clearly, today there is earlier it used to be where everybody congregated all 5 or 6 days a week and everybody was productive. Today it could be that I am sitting at home, Prashant is at the satellite location, and Amit Lal, you're sitting at the central location. So the tools will have to change completely, where it has to be, the VC has to be one to many or many to one. And clearly those adaptations will happen, and those technology solutions will have to be incorporated into the solution set that we develop. And then finally, I think there is a clear focus on instilling that whole intervention at the right place at the right time. I feel very strongly, like for example, at at Office, what we have done is we have integrated our mobile app with Arogya Setu, right? And which in turn is now incorporated with CoWIN. So clearly, what happens is that somebody coming in, I would know how many people are vaccinated in my facility versus how many are not. Is there any symptoms through the Arogya Setu? And I think technology is moving very fast, and those integrations will happen, which will tell me in my bubble, in my location, how many people are safe, be it vaccination, be it any symptoms, etc. And those green, yellow, red kind of signals are going to play a huge role. And we are investing a lot of time and effort in making sure that those kinds of interventions make sure that people are keeping themselves safe, they feel safeguarded with their teams individually as well as with the broader organization itself.
Thanks, Amit. Prashantji, can we have your views on the technology from a people perspective?
Yeah, I was about to say, Amit Lal, that very soon we might see a home office maintenance package. Yeah,
So I think
and
if
if
I'm
people
not,
are willing to invest in some technology, that it can be done and delivered completely remotely and online.
so if not technology, I guess Office did something similar last year, if I'm not mistaken, right? Some packages that you had provided to the market.
We do have it. Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Having said that, the cloud-based technology and tools for collaboration will continue to play the pivotal role in ensuring smooth workflow and productivity. Many organizations, my organization has seen that the productivity of people has increased, and last year, sometime around July, after experiencing about 3-4 months of work from home and remote working, we introduced Second Friday as an off day every month for people to relax and rejuvenate, because we also, recognize the fact that people have to do a lot of, household chores and contribute to the work at home as well. Having said that, coming back to the technology is, the self-help technology, self-help in the technology will be key to adoption. And what we normally say is it has to be as simple as using an Uber or an Amazon or a Flipkart. So it has to be brought in such simple way that people can find out. Otherwise, we do not have anymore the kind of practices we used to have in terms of help desk, IT support, that we can call up someone through an extension and get the person is here to solve. We have to depend a lot on ourselves to figure out, while the IT support is there, the help desk is there. Their job is also becoming more and more challenging with the complete remote working. And hence, this is a key part. I'll give one example in terms of the use of technology and adoption. Our product training, and in our company, every colleague who joins has to go through a detailed product training, typically about 10 to 12 hours. Okay, which used to happen mostly face to face, other than some geographies where we had, in a country we had just 2 or 3 people. That has now fully transitioned to completely online, on demand. There is a set of resources and tools. Anytime I want, I can choose, I can learn, and that's it. And as part of the onboarding induction, that's how it is being delivered. There will always be the need for personal touch despite the use of technology. And that's where the role of managers, the role of the HR business partners, people managers, is becoming even more critical. How well they connect with people while bringing the technology, and everything is available and will evolve, and the adoption will happen. How do we still create the personal touch? Because people are also wanting to go back to office. People are wanting to come out of their home. Though the survey, any survey that you look at, any poll that you look at, says that a large number of people want the flexibility of working from home or remote working. But the fact is also that, end of the day, the social interaction which was available at workplace, or in the society is completely missing today. And we just cannot take out the social fabric out of a human being or any living being.
So that's quite true. So I think with that, we are running short of time. We have about 10 minutes for Q&A. We have a few questions here. I will read this out and we can decide who can answer. We can all contribute. So the question is, due to the pandemic, we have seen a lot of changes in the way we work. Do you think all the changes that have happened in terms of work culture are positive?
I would say only bad thing about the pandemic itself. Rest everything that is happening in terms of the change, the technology, the way people work, the way people connect over. Many people still call it a WhatsApp university, but the same WhatsApp has become such a big tool for helping people in finding the medical infrastructure. So other than the pandemic itself, many things that have happened is for good. Many changes that have happened is for good.
So, Amit, I personally feel that I think while we are living through it, we can't see a lot of negative other than, as Prashant said, obviously pandemic is the worst thing that's happened. But besides that, I think there are going to be a lot of mental challenges, relationship challenges which will come, and we will see it foreseeable future, and we'll have to live with those realities. I mean, if I was to look at, adults are different, but let's look at children, right? I mean, all of us went to school, and if you told somebody that I will take 2 years of your life and have you do it on a computer, I can tell you nobody would choose that, right? So a lot of negative things are happening as we speak. We all want to overlook it because the reality is we all want to come out of this pandemic, deal with that bigger problem first. But clearly there are going to be a lot of ramifications for years to come due to this whole, work from home, live from home, etc., etc. Nobody talks about it right now, but I think, papers will be written in the future once we are over the pandemic as to what's the implication on husband-wife relationships, colleagues relationships, how you see your organization with your relationship, kids and their school relationship. So I think we are living through a lot of ramifications and negative ramifications, which will live for the foreseeable future.
All right, Amit. I think my perspective on this is that, the biggest negative that it has caused, I think you covered pretty much, is the social recession that has happened, and the lifestyle habits. So have been in two extremes. If you see, either people have gone all fitness freak or they're like couch potatoes, So it's not the same way it used to be. Like I go out for some time and I come back home, and it's good. It was a good mix. So I think we are missing that.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, please, it's coming.
So just one point related to that, one of the studies came out with the insight that from the time a mental or psychological problem starts to the first visit to the specialist or mental health professional, it takes 7 years. In light of that, whatever the relationship and the problem that we might see can be of enormous proportion.
No, I think that's where the organizations really need to invest in that wellness framework, and which is completely holistic, and so we have a few more questions, and we're short of time now. I think we just have 6 minutes more. So the second question is, what are your views on the hybrid workplaces? Do you think it'll become the norm going forward?
I will take that one, and then obviously you guys can chip in. I'm betting my future and my company's future on it, right? So having close to about 70 locations across 12 cities, we have fast-tracked our expansion in the last 12 months. We've gone 2x our size, and we are betting on that whole element where I think hybrid distributed workplaces, this whole approach is going to be here for the foreseeable future. I think if you look at some of the developed economies, and clearly there have been trigger events, like in the US, 9/11 happened, and then post that, the whole element of satellite offices, hot desking, hoteling, all became front and center, and many organizations evolved into that, and currently also, adopt those new ways of working. So clearly, the pandemic has fast-tracked all those strategies, but clearly, it's fair to say it's not going to go away.
Yeah, coupled with that, there will be an additional factor because people will now have significant resistance to long commute hours, and hence the satellite offices, distributed offices will have a higher preference.
That's right. I think that's it's definitely here to stay. At least in the foreseeable longer term, maybe 5 to 8 to 10 years, until the whole world is vaccinated and this over a pandemic, and it's a part of our to live with it or we eliminate it. So whatever happens, but it's here to stay. And I would like to quote one example. One of the largest organizations in the retail space is setting up a 2,000 or 3,000 seater office in Coimbatore, for example. I think they're probably in the process of doing that when I last heard. And that's an experiment of moving into tier 2 towns. I was speaking in another webinar a few months back with two of the largest developers of India, Niranjan Hirandani from Hirandani Group and Rajiv Singh from DLF Group. They all accepted the fact that the growth is also going to go beyond the top 9 or 10 cities that we've been always looking at. Because with this pandemic, people are moving likely to other towns, maybe not in large proportions, but they're going to be those clusters where people are going to move. It's just the first mover advantage somebody takes, and the rest will follow the suit, so when it comes to the end users. So, but it's going to be really interesting to see how the businesses like Office really leverage the situation to expand their portfolio beyond these 7 or 8 cities. And I think that's likely the future. So we have one more question and we can wrap up after that, which is, during these trying times, especially in the last few weeks, what can organizations do to emphasize with their employees and help them better?
Yeah, so let me share some thoughts on that. So one, a lot of organizations have changed their policies specifically to help people deal with the pandemic or to COVID or to illness or someone in the family. Many organizations have already done that. Many organizations in a formal way are setting up help desk for people. They are collating some information available on availability of medicines, beds, hospitals, etc. That is happening both in an organized way as well as in an informal manner. One of the challenges that many companies are facing is, people over the years, people move to different cities, and organizations will have limitation in terms of having facilities, infrastructure in multiple cities. So that's a challenge that people have to deal with. But there are both policies, practices which have emerged to provide help and support to people.
That's quite true. So Amit, any views on that?
So, clearly, Amit, I think I'll just talk about what we are doing internally because I think that's more relevant here. So what we did was we set up a complete COVID-19 helpline, and it's being manned by some of the most senior-most guys in the company. And the focus is essentially to help with, from testing to oxygen to beds, etc. And obviously, we are trying our best. Second, we have tied up with companies to provide vaccination to all our employees and their families. Obviously, vaccination has to become available, which is not available right now, unfortunately. But we have done those things. Third, what we did was we made the working hours we reduced the working hours per day. And that is to basically what Prashant was saying earlier, was to help people take care of their loved ones or their chores, etc., at home and so on. What we also did was we condoned and basically we said any off time you require because of your own COVID impact or your family members impact, we are giving those days off. And then obviously we have set up a fund, and that fund is funded by the company and employees, whoever wanted to contribute. And that fund is for any exigencies or any challenges that the members would have. So those are some of the things which we have done, and I think the clear focus is to support, and that's the fundamental focus: help and support in any way that the organization can.
I think those are some of the very those are some great initiatives. What I have seen in my experience or observation of doing some sort of benchmarking is broadly there are like 8-10 areas which I think you have covered already. So to do with well-being, to really have leave policies. This morning I was reading an article forwarded on WhatsApp. There are companies which are sending employees on forced leaves if they are being diagnosed or they are even being suspected of going through some sort of depression or even some sort of social recession related or lockdown related issues. So there are response teams and help desks being set up, IT initiatives being driven, these funds being set up, voluntary communities being set up, so on and so forth. So the list can be long, but I think a lot of organizations are supporting the vaccination drive. So all of this is what a lot of these organizations are doing, and this somewhere needs to be really benchmarked and see how that can be leveraged at a larger scale, because the need is common here. There's no uniqueness about any organization or state or race or creed. The need is common. So with that, thanks, Prashant and Amit, and it was great speaking with you. And I hope the insights shared by you were useful for the participants in crafting their journey forward for the new avatar of the workplace. And with that, over to you, Javisha.
Thank you, dear panelists, for joining us today and sharing some key insights. We truly appreciate it. Special thanks to our partners Accenture, Automation Care, Route Mobile, and Tata Teleservices. We've now come to the end of the two-day summit. On behalf of IAMEI, I would like to thank our advisory board members, our partners, our supporters, and the audience for their immense support in making this conference a grand success, especially during these trying times. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all from us. Thank you, and please stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you. Stay safe.
Thank you.